Hey, today we're going to be reviewing residential estimating. It's probably the most overlooked sector in estimating software products. There's just uh, not as much you can do with residential estimating, but it doesn't mean it has to be overlooked because it can be extremely valuable. So we're going to address some the most common mistakes I see people making or not understanding. And so we're going to start with measuring. So I think most anybody can count. I think that's not misunderstood. You just count receptacles, count lights, count switches. So that's counting. I'm just going to leave it alone for a minute and we're going to talk about measuring. Now, the first misnomer is you're not going to ever get down to the inch and be perfect. It's just never going to happen. Your guy in the field is never going to install the project exactly the way you built it. So we're not trying to get down to the inch. People argue all the time. Well, that may be a foot too much. I mean, honestly, I see people leaving 2 and 3 foot of conductor out of receptacle box. So you can't be too tight. So this is what I want to start with. Let's just pretend like this is the downward view of a room, and these are ceiling joists. This would be a second story building. So in reality, when I am measuring this room, I'm just going to follow the walls because it's simple, it's easy, and I feel it's going to be close enough that it's not going to matter. Now, people argue all the time that, oh, I'm going to go through the wall to this receptacle, then I'm going to go up and have to go between this joist and go to this receptacle and then down the wall here. Then I got to drill through these again and come over and go there. And my wire's not going to be the same as if you go around the room. Well, let's just look for just a second. If I move this here, this should have been I'll move this here. So you see that it's virtually exactly the same with a lot less effort and a lot less thought. Now, I also want to address that I'm only addressing the horizontal run. There's a vertical part of this as well. So the vertical part of the run is this part here, of course. So what we are addressing originally is this part of the run. So now we're going to go into a big debate of how much conductor to allow to go down to this receptacle. This is, you can debate this all day, every day, and I'm going to try to make it simple for you. But in reality, if you came 16 inches off the floor, hammer high, that's what we used to do in the old days, and then the box is 4 inches, then you've literally got about 76 inches from the top of the box up. And then you'll have a foot out, so 7 foot 3 inches. Now that's putting it tight. It's not going to be less than that. And if you leave more than that, you're not going to have enough conductor in your estimate. So I personally count from here to here 10 foot. Now you can argue that it's a different length, and I cannot disagree, but I'm going to kind of show you why I use 10 foot. So let's just say this is a typical installation, and we already have this accounted for. So we're going to come down 10 foot and go up 10 foot. We've already have this accounted for. We're going to come down 10 foot, go up 10 foot, go over. We have this accounted for. We're going to go down to here 10 foot. So that's 50 foot of conductor that I've added in a different way for 3 receptacles. So that's 16 foot 6 inches per receptacle. So the average of these combined would be 16 foot 6. Now let's look at a more realistic installation. So if we came down 10 foot, up 3, down 3, up 3, down 3, up 10, down 10, up 3, down 3, up 3, 3, that's 54 foot. So if you divide 54 into the 6 receptacles, now you're 9 foot apiece. So this is where the controversy can be. Me personally, I'm going with this method right here. This is worst case. It's never going to be worse than having to come all the way down and go all the way back up, not drilling through anywhere. So that equals 16.6. Now you can call it 20, or you can call it any number you want to, but you have to come up within your mind of what you're going to allow for the vertical runs from a receptacle and a switch. My point is, if you use 20 foot, it's going to way more than cover it, but it's not going to be enough to cost you the job. You can go down as low as 15. So I would choose a number between 15 and 20 to take care of this vertical drop. When you go over to this particular drawing, you can see that you're going to drop down 10, go through the wall some, you're going to have to go back up again, come back down. So you can get it as low as 9. So honestly, if you go as low as 9 and someone drills a hole a little too high, then you're in the hole. So my recommendation, I know I'm going around the world talking about this, but it's very important. It's the most misunderstood part of it. So we're going to scale all these runs that go across the top of the wall. We're going to know what this portion of the wire is going to be. On the software takeoff, you can allow and figure out these drops each time. But it's much easier just to measure this and use an average for the vertical part of it, which again is this part. I'm going to go over and over because I know that this can be confusing and this gives people the most trouble. So my suggestion is pick a number between 15 and 20 foot to take care of your vertical drops. Horizontal, we're going to know. Vertical, we're not. Now, when you get to the software, and you have your receptacles, this distance apart is where I'm talking about adding for the vertical run of this circuit. So 20 foot, covers it all the way down to 10 foot is tight. So from 15 to 20 foot is probably the best choice. So you can add your 15 to 20 foot here in the distance apart. Now we're going to get into detail about this later, but let's open a house on the template side. Residential panel, going to go to receptacles. We already have these created for you. So these are your receptacles. So let's say there was 100 receptacles. And let's say you put your distance apart at 20. I know you're going to be covered at 20. Now, you would go to custom items. You would open up your measure. There's nothing in here yet because we haven't measured anything, but your horizontal measurements would be right here. So if that was 1,500 foot, you just would add 1,500 foot. For your horizontal. So this is taking care of your horizontal portion for receptacles. And this is taking care of your vertical. Now, I don't care what part you use there, but this is the easiest way to cover it and have it done. Now, you can cover it all here, but it's way too time consuming and too much thought process. You want to get through the estimate as soon as possible. So let's break this down into a simple room. So I've already counted these receptacles. That's the same if you just did this one room or you did the whole house. But now we're going to go to measures. I'm just going to write in 12-2 Romex. I'm going to start at the panel. I'm going to catch 3, that receptacle, that receptacle. Now I have the vertical portion of this circuit caught. I'll round this up. So that's the vertical. So what we need is going down to the receptacles. So we need to account for that. Now let's look at this on a simple sketch that's not too good. But what we're missing is the 10 foot to the panel. Just make this where it's more visible. So we're missing the going up, the coming down to this receptacle, the going up to this one, next one, the coming down to this one, the going out, coming in, going above the ceiling, coming down, going back up, coming down, going up, coming in, going up above the ceiling, coming down from the ceiling, going up to the ceiling, and down to this last one. That's 108 foot. So that's 12 foot apart. So if you're using the 15 foot or 20 foot, you're amply covered. I still say 20 foot's the best bet, but you can use whatever you want. So when we go to the estimating side, this is the way you enter it. I'm going to go to the residential control panel, select receptacles, open up the pre-created residential assembly. So now we want to open up our count and view. Our counts are 7 receptacles, so we just would enter 7 here. And then our measurements, well, let's stop. Our measurement is going to be 80 foot. So we would enter that 80 foot under custom items. So we'll say 80 foot of 12.2. That's going to cover our horizontal lengths. Now we need to set this distance apart to catch the vertical lengths. So 15 foot will amply cover it. It was 12 foot something, but let's just say 15. That completes the whole circuit. Now that we can just amplify that by the rest of the devices in the room. So you just have to choose the distance apart to carry your vertical, and we're going to put the horizontal length here. So that's all there is to it. That's going to take care of it. Hit save, assembly details, and that's going to be our products that we need. So that's going to take care of entering the branch power for the receptacles. So when the software was built, we didn't account for green wire nuts for your receptacles and switches. That's kind of an oversight. Most people, I think, use a green wing nut to, or wire nut to put over their grounding conductors. So this is a recommendation of what to do. It's a little bit long, but I'm going to kind of go slow. So if you choose to follow this, you can. So go to custom assembly. We want to open up multiple items. The first thing we want to do is we want to add a green wire nut because there's not one in the assembly. You can go in the right way and do it, but what I suggest, since this ground clip is an old item that's no longer used, I would enter that item, ground clips. Hit save, assembly details, and now I would clip ground clips, open record, and I would change this to green wire nut. You have to copy and paste it here. Original man hours 0.02. I'll probably change that to 0.03. Change it here. Put your cost in. I'm not sure what the cost is, so I'm going to leave this at 18 cents, but you get the idea. You can change it if you like. Save and close. And now green wire nut should be in the database. Now you want to go to Admin, drop downs, Residential Receptacles. You want to go to Receptacles, and we want to add that green wire nut here, which I know doesn't make sense yet, but we're going to go try to find it. Now, the green wire nut is under the receptacles. I'm going to save and close. You're going to open up your residential template. You're going to start with the template, and you open up your receptacle template, and we're going to create a new product. And so we're going to go right under receptacle, and we're going to choose that green wire nut. Nothing else needs to be added to that. So now, let's say you had 100 receptacles. Then you would just come down and add 100 under the green wire nut. Whatever your receptacle counts would be your green wire nut counts. And that's going to take the place of your of it not being there. So now you have that included. So now you have your staples and your green wire nuts. That's an easy fix for that. So I hope that kind of is a little shortcut to add those if you'd like to. This is the option number 2 of how you can do the same function. I prefer option 1, but some people like to do it like this. So we're going to measure around the room again. We're going to do this circuit. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and down here 10. Okay, so we have 10 drops to take care of. You can go to here, edit tag, and you can change this 10. Let's say you wanted to use 15. Just say you wanted to use 15 foot for your drop. You can set that for 15. And then you can open the up and down and click. And you can see it's adding 10 foot right here each time I click. So I'm going to click 10 times. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Now turn this off, and now I'll have that complete circuit ran with the ups and downs averaged in. Now when you save and close this, go to the residential panel. We'll get rid of our first example. We would open the viewer. It was representing the first time we counted it. So we have 8 receptacles, and we have 1 weatherproof GFI. So there's a weatherproof GFI. Now I'm going to zero out all the links, because in this example we included the measurements. So now we have 240 foot of number 12. We would put that right here. So that is the second example of how you could do that. whichever way that works best in your mind. I'm going to go over some of the functions of the residential side of the software. We have a template, which I'm going to address later, and that's how I suggest doing it. But you still need to know how the general functionality of the software is. So we'll start by going to the residential control panel, going to receptacles, create a new residential receptacle. So you're going to start by choosing a staple. I suggest 9/16, and we'll leave it at that. That's 1 per 10 foot. If you want to change that to lower, you can, but 1 per 10 foot is going to be ample. Extra length of conductor per box is set at 2 foot, and that works well. It's good as well. So we'll enter a room. You can call this anything you want to. You can do it per room, or you can do it by the whole house. I don't really see the need of breaking it out per room. It just takes a lot of time. You still get to the same number. So I'm just going to say whole house. And we'll say that we counted 100 receptacles. That's the quantity. Now we're going to choose the receptacle that we want to use. So you go through this list and choose whatever you would like. If it's not in this list, you can add it. I'm going to choose a tamper-proof 15 amp receptacle, call it tamper resistant. I'm going to choose a plate, single gang plate. I'm going to choose a wire size. I'm going to choose 12. A lot of people use 14. I highly discourage using 14. It's poor workmanship to me. I know you think you save money, but when you go back and do service calls on blinking lights and things not working, you'll wish you'd used the number 12. Now the distance apart, we addressed this in the earlier videos, so you can use this feature or not use this feature. For this particular example, I'm going to use 20. We're going to choose a box. That's how you would enter a receptacle, and you would enter as many different types of receptacles as you needed. We're going to select a GFI receptacle. Let's say there's 5. You just choose the receptacle. Of course, GFI receptacle doesn't have a plate, but if you have a weatherproof receptacle, you can name that weatherproof GFI and use one of these in-use covers. Again, wire size, I'm going to choose 12. Distance apart, I'm going to choose a greater distance apart for the GFI, unless I scale it. If I scale it, I'm going to go back and put 40. And again, it gets a 1 gang nutter box. So that's all the way that you do to add your receptacles. Let's say that we were finished. You can add your green wire nut like we did before, and we can put 105. Now I'm showing you how you add things on the fly. Now in the template, all these are going to be filled out for you, but this is just a way of doing it. So again, you could go to your custom items, go add multiple items, go to wire, choose Romex, bring in the size Romex that you'll use, and you could enter your quantity of Romex that you scaled by checking it in the count and view measure. So that's all there is to receptacles. Switches is pretty much the same, but we're going to address something a little different. So if you had, let's just call this whole house again. say we had a 15 amp switch plate, wire, distance. We use the same distance we used before, and box, single game box. It's pretty easy. Let's say we had 45 of them. Now, this is where it gets to be a little bit different. So now we're going to say that we have a switch three-way, switch three-way. So now we have a switch three-way, switch three-way. So it's a 3-gang switch. When you do those, you have to create, if there's a 3-gang switch, then you have to have 3 different types of switches. So you have to enter it the same amount of times. Let's say there was 2 of these. So you just enter 2 for each one of them. And the reason for that is this first switch will be here. And the 3-way switch I'm just going to pick a 3-way switch. And then another 3-way switch. So the first switch is for this switch. The first 3-way is for this 3-way. The second 3-way is for this 3-way. We only need 1 plate, so we'll choose a 3-gang plate. We need 12-2 for this switch, but we need 12-3 for this one and 12-3 for this one. Now we're going to use the same distance apart for each one of them, but we only need 1 box, so we need a 3-gang box. This is the way you would add multiple gang boxes, and you can use any configuration that you want. So again, you may add your green wire nut to this choice, so you could add those, but that's the way you catch the switches. And that's how you do that. It's pretty easy. So that's all there is to that. Appliances, it's very similar to lighting. Click the button, click create new, add all your appliances in here. Let's just choose water heater. Let's use a box. Wire size 10-2. Let's say it's 50 foot to the panel, so we can do it this way. We're going to say it's going to take us a half an hour to connect it and set it up. Now what we need in addition to this, we'll say quantity 1. I don't use the breaker. Now you can put your breakers in here if you'd like to, but I always put all the gear, under the gear tab. So I'm going to send it out for a quotation. Now when you work off the template, it has all this filled in for you, so you're not going to have to worry about it. But now we'll need to go to custom items, add multiple items. Let's go to raceways, flex and fittings, and we'll bring in some 1/2-inch flex. A straight and a 90 connector. And then let's just say we'll make that 6 1-in-1. So now we have our appliances entered. So that would be just that water heater, and you do all your appliances after the same way. Just do it the same way. So that's all there is to that. We're going to move on over to gear. So you click gear, create a new takeoff. So I want to stop here and say that I list all my gear on this page, and I'm going to send it off for quotation. In the residential market, you may know the price of your gear because it doesn't change that much. And if you do, you can certainly add cost. But in the commercial world, every job is going to be different. The specifications are going to be different. You're not going to probably know your gear cost. You might add some specialty gear in here that you know the exact price of, but you would only do it like this right here. So we're going to go gear choice. You can certainly just type in the gear. Or you can choose it from the drop down. So let's going to say we'll do a 60 amp 2-pole disconnect. We'll say we'll need a NEMA 1, and let's say we'll need a NEMA 3 arm. Say both non-fusible. Let's say we need 3 of these and 3 of these. All right, so the man hours are already populated. You can change them if you'd like. But let's say you want a panel. Say you want a NEMA 1 200 amp with a breaker in it. Now you want to say you want to add breakers. You just would come over here and drop in breakers. Any breaker that you would need. And then just obviously enter your quantities. So that's how you would enter gear, and it should take care of you for you. So this is a really good trick I want to show you. So we're going to go to Save, Assembly Details. The certain products that you use over and over again, you may want to get custom ID number to make it easier to find. For example, let's take a 20 amp breaker, 20 amp single pole breaker. We're going to open the record. Let's just say our custom ID, let's enter 20. And you can make that be anything you want to. Save and close. Let's say custom ID on this 30 amp breaker. Now, me personally, I know that a 20 amp is going to be a single pole, a 30 amp is going to be a 2-pole. Now, if I wanted a 20 amp 2-pole, then my part number would probably be 20-2. You can make it be whatever makes sense to you. So let's say it's 60 amp disconnect. You can open this up and let's say custom 60 amp. And that would be for a non-fused. And then if you wanted a non-fused 3-pole, let's say, and your numbers can mean whatever you want it to mean to you. 60 amp non-fused. Let's say your 200 amp panel that you use all the time, every day. 200 amp panel. Now when you're on the gear, see if I can remember any of these. You could just go 20 amp to bring in your 20 amp breaker, 30 to bring your 30 amp breaker, 200 amp P to bring in your 200 amp panel that you use every time. So that's another way of doing it. So you can figure out exactly how it works for you the best. If you're a residential market, a lot of times you know your prices, so you may put them in there, like I sort of have figured here. That's how you do the gear. So your HVAC, we'll just click HVAC button, create new HVAC. I like to enter these, like, for example, 5 ton. So this is all I normally would enter. Say there's 2 5-ton units. I'm going to use the 6.2 disconnect, and combine these together would be 100 foot. Or you can enter it like this. So if there's 2 5-ton units, they could both be different footages. So let's say this one's 75 and this one's 150. So you can enter it like that. You can choose a disconnect. You could choose a breaker, but again, I use the disconnect and breaker on the gear. But that's how you would fill out your gear. I want to remind you that on the template we've created, we have 2 through 5-ton units already pre-filled out. All you have to do is enter the quantities. So that makes it a lot simpler. We're going to address that before the video is over. But you need to know how to add things manually if you want to. So that's all you would do. Go back to the residential control panel, special items. This is just anything that you want to add. So you want to add a box of something. So you could just type it in. Or if you wanted to add something for drilling holes, or anything that you wanted to add, you can just add it here. So you wanted to add a drill bit. You could just do that there. Or you can open up the database and bring in anything from the database. You could enter permits here. You could enter anything that you wanted. Travel, temporary pole, anything that you care to, you can add it here. It's a sort of a catch-all. You know, you could do trenching or anything that suits the category. So lights furnished by you, you can just enter them here. Let's say you have 25 recessed lights. And let's say that they cost you $50 a piece. So that's all you would do. Now you don't use man hours here if you've accounted for these on the lighting rough-in, because the lighting rough-in has already picked up the hours. So this would just be the items that you furnish. You could furnish like vent fans. anything that you furnish that you're going to provide, you would enter it in here. Now your service items, this is going to take you a little time, but this is going to save you tons of time in the long run. So you're going to do your service items. And from this page, you should create all the services that you specifically do, like 100 amp, 200 amp, overhead, underground, sub panel, any combination of panels and gear that you put together to make a service. You put it all here, build it, and then you save it. And when you save it, you change the name to what you want it to be. So when you open this up, you can go load custom assembly, and you can choose. I'm just going to choose these. I don't know how accurate they're going to be, but this is the way it works. You would choose 200 amp overhead service, and then that brings in a pre-built 200 amp overhead service, saves you all the time it would take to build it. You can modify it if you want to, but basically you should just hit save, and that's going to be your service. So that saves tons of time, and you can just save the ones you build and load the ones you build. So that's all there is to the residential control panel. Now you need to go back and watch the videos on the commercial side, because there will be times when you need to use the commercial side to do portions of the residential work you do. If it's apartments or anything, you may have raceways and conduit. So a lot of tips and tricks on that. There's 2 pretty long videos I suggest watching, learning all there is to know about this. Those videos will teach you how to add in the defaults, which is basically on the commercial side of things, where you can add your defaults and your drop downs. It also shows you how to take care of your labor and other costs, how to check things on the worksheet, how to check the summary, all those things that you need. So now I'm going to jump over to why we started all this in the first place. This is how you would do things manually. But we're going to open a project, and this is the way that I suggest you to start a job. We have a residential template. Now you will keep modifying this residential template job after job after job until you get it exactly like you like it. You won't perform the estimate on a residential template, but you'll highlight it. You'll go copy project, copy of residential template. We're going to name this job now Bill's House, and hit OK. So now we'll find Bill's House, we'll open it up, and now we've done all the work for you. You're going to go to the residential panel. You'll go to receptacles. The receptacles are already figured for you. You're going to open this up. All these are added. So the goal of this page is you add everything in here that can be plugged in. You put the outlets that you want, the wire size you want. If you want this to be 14.2, you can change it. The only thing that you need to do when you start estimating is put your quantity and work out what you want to use for distance apart. If you're scaling, you can go to custom items. All the wires already inputted, so you just enter your links. That's all there is to it. So you'll go to switches, and it's going to be the same way. We've already created your common switches. So there's switch 3-way, switch 4-way, 2-gang, 3-gang, 4-gang, and then your combination of switches as you go. We've already addressed how you would enter the quantities for these. So everything is pretty much pre-done for you. Let's look at the HVAC. So this would be your 2 ton, 3 ton, 4 ton, 5 ton. I would suggest spelling that correctly. And then all you have to do is put your quantities and your distance. So maybe that's going to make residential estimating a little easier for you. So if you have any questions or concerns, just give us a call. We'll be more than happy to work with you on it. But that should be pretty in-depth about how to at least get you started. And you just modify this to work the way that you would want to work. Look at the gear. So this is just your quantities of these disconnects, quantities of the panels, quantities of the breakers. So hope you get a good idea about that. As always, thanks for watching. Have a blessed day.